There's different kind of candlestick formations, common candlestick formations, and they all have different associated meanings. So, let's wrap it up, and I'm gonna explain how different candlestick formations mean different things and how they represent supply and demand. And we went over it already, but it's just a refresher that the body of a candle is formed by the opening and closing of a time frame. And then the wicks show the total range of price in that time frame. And, these candlesticks that I'm about to show you, these different formations, they all have different names. But forget about the names. I need you to understand the context and the meaning and the concept behind the actual candlesticks and the concepts that I'm teaching you, so you can interpret every single type and the implications of supply and demand on them, because that's the most important thing here. So right now, first one, you got the hammer candlestick. Hammer stick candlestick formations take on slightly different forms that all look very different. Nothing is cookie cutter here. But roughly, give or take, they're going to look like this, right? They're going to look like this, and, this is a hammer right here. Let's see. This is a hammer candlestick. This is a hammer candlestick. This is a hammer candlestick. And you're going to see them on all different kinds of time frames. So this is a 5-minute chart. Let's see, where's one? This is a hammer candlestick right here. Hammer candlestick, hammer candlestick. Hammer. They're all over the place. Hammer candlestick. And they don't look exactly the same, but they're similar. And they have a specific meaning. So remember, a candlestick represents the change in price. And, the change in price is price action within a specific time frame. That means, the hammer candlestick is a candle that opened at a higher price and had some selling action, went lower, and then closed either higher than it opened or closed closer to where it opened and created that body on the top and that long wick on the bottom. These are bullish candles because they represent buying activity. So when you actually watch a live example or live trading and you see a hammer candlestick form, I always talk about this stock market is an auction. People are buying and selling, and obviously, when it closes, when the stock moves up, it means people are buying. When the stock moves down, it means people are selling. So if you have a candle with a long wick at the bottom, that means in that time frame, there was enough selling to where at a certain point in time, this candle was red and it was really low and heading downwards. But before the time frame changed and moved on to the next period, price there was enough demand to cause price to go back up and create this kind of candlestick formation. That's why the hammer candlestick is bullish, because, it shows the buying activity. And once you recognize this, you'll be able to see instantly, okay, this means this means this, and you'll start putting stuff together really quickly. And that's where that experience comes in. So yeah, I always say, visualize the candles in real time, but later on when you go through the live trades and everything, you'll see the videos, you'll understand. And obviously, when you're watching a chart and everything on your own, you'll be able to recognize these and see the actual formations and see price going down, coming up, and how it represents supply and demand and the change in price and what's actually happening in that given moment. Next, we got the inverted hammer candlestick. Same thing as a hammer candlestick, except opposite. So this represents supply and a strength in supply, in comparison to the hammer candlestick, where it represents strength in demand. So price goes up and closes lower, creates a wick on the top and a small body at the bottom. Again, same principles, except they're inverted. So inverted hammer candlesticks open low and move up higher, but end up closing near the open or even lower than it, and that causes a small body at the bottom and the long tail at the top. Yeah, and pretty much that means that whatever amount of buying there was, it became overwhelmed and there was more supply than there was demand, and that caused price to go lower and close out the time frame at a low. Even if it's a green candlestick, when you see this kind of formation, sure, yes, it opened higher, but look at all of this buying activity and then look at where it eventually closed. So that just represents more supply because it didn't close up higher. Just a little tip, a common practice that I have when I'm trading is when I decide to open a position, always wait for the candlestick to close, because You never know how a candlestick is gonna finish out before the time frame is up. So like you can buy something that looks bullish because the candlestick is still going, and next thing you know, it's a bearish fucking formation, and then you're losing the trade. So always, just wait a little extra second. Be patient. And next candlestick right here, we have the wide body candle, and very simple. It just represents strength in a specific direction because it opened low or opened high. It opened and then sold pretty much at its extreme, and they show clear sentiment. And like with these candles, you only interpret them one way. There's only one way to interpret them, and that's with clear strength respective to whether the price went up or down. They're either clearly bullish signals or clearly bearish signals. There's no confusing it. For a red wide body candle, it means that it opened higher, so it opened up high right here and closed at the low or near the low. And now I represented this wick because this shows near the low. Yeah, I made this diagram right here too. Every diagram is made by Reed. Yeah, and green bullish wide body candlesticks open low, close near or at the highest point of the candle, and that makes it bullish for obvious reasons because there was more demand than supply, so price kept going up and it closed at the I just poked myself in my eye. But it closed at the high. Red bearish candles closed at the low, strong bearish sentiment. And yeah, simple, right? Next, we got the doji candlesticks. So these candlesticks, technically the opposite of a wide body candle. There's no body at all. And it represents kind of like indecision in the stock market or in that specific time frame. Meaning that, supply and demand in the moment are kind of balanced. There's nothing is really stronger than the other. So it's, trades are still happening. Or, maybe there's no trades happening at all and nobody's really buying or selling. It could mean that too. But the doji candlestick represents indecision and no real imbalance in supply and demand. So it opens and pretty much closes really close to where it opened. Yeah. Simple. So even if you have this full range, like it's gonna close pretty much at or close to the open. So they're gonna be pretty close to each other. So like for this bearish candle, it's not even bearish, but for this red candle, open here, close here. Green candle, open here, close here. This candle right here, it literally opened and closed at the same point, but still had this huge range represented by the wicks on the candle, and this same thing right here. And they could show up in different colors even if they close at the same place. It just, I don't know. I don't really know why it does that, but they don't really represent anything on their own except the fact that in the moment things are balanced. Like supply and demand are the forces in that specific time frame. Nothing is stronger than the other, and it's really important that you understand this one specifically because candlestick formations, like I taught you all of these, but they have specific places, and like in conjunction, under reading them with other candlesticks, that's how you piece them together to create an actual picture and create an actual understanding of what is happening in front of you. So I say this represent indecision and stuff like that. When I go over the part where I say basic volume and price action and actually putting a trade together and using these concepts and these different candles to put a trade together, you'll see how, like, for example, a doji candlestick can mean, hey, like, more buyers or more sellers are coming into the market or things are changing. Because, like, you could have a bunch of wide body candles, meaning things are super bullish or super bearish, and then you have a few doji candlesticks showing that, all right, there's no real imbalance anymore. Now things are kind of balanced. Are we going to find more demand again and keep going up? Or are we going to see more supply action come in and, start seeing more selling? But this represents like a balance. I keep saying balance, but they're balanced. I'm playing. But, yeah, so those are the main candlestick formations that you'll see every single day in the stock market. And, I'll show you here right now. Like, Jesus, fuck. It's a big candle. But yeah, like, this is the daily chart. All the candlestick formations that I just told you about, you see here. You got wide body candles, hammer candles, all of that stuff. So Like look at this wide body bearish candle, and then four days later you keep seeing more bearish activity. And you might have a hammer candle here, and like okay, some buyers are stepping in, but next day candle opened lower, sold even lower. And look at this, more buyers try to come in because we have an inverse handle. Yeah, handle inverse hammer candle, meaning that we opened low and we did push up higher, but before the day closed, there was more supply, or for whatever reason, there was more selling than there was buying. So we closed down here, and then subsequently, like next days on, price kept going lower and lower and lower. And you would piece all of these different things together to create like your own kind of plan and your own analysis to make a trade. So that's candlesticks in a nutshell, and how they represent supply and demand. And that's just the basic concepts. Keep following through the course. You're gonna learn more and more and more, and be able to take a educated options trade.